Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, fingers hovering over the screen of his smartphone. Each notification felt like a secret whisper, a beckoning call from a world that he had crafted, one that he believed his mother could never understand. He had a way of wearing his silence like armor, shielding him from the prying eyes of the outside world, especially from Laura, his single mother, who only wanted to draw him out of his shell. Her concern, while genuine, felt suffocating to him. He longed for independence, for a space where he could express his thoughts without judgment. But lately, he had begun retreating deeper into the shadows, where the lines between reality and the virtual blurred, and where he could escape the pressures of being a teenager. Before we delve deeper into Ethan's world, I urge you to subscribe to our channel. Your support is crucial for us to share more compelling stories that resonate with you. So please hit that subscribe button now. As Laura moved through their modest home, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The changes in Ethan were subtle yet alarming. His laughter had faded, replaced by a brooding silence that hung in the air like a thick fog. She had tried everything. Casual conversations over dinner, encouraging him to invite friends over, even sharing her own teenage struggles to connect with him. Yet, each attempt felt like trying to grasp water with bare hands. The moment she thought she was getting through, Ethan would withdraw further, retreating into the cocoon of his room, where she knew he spent countless hours on his phone. One afternoon, while preparing dinner, Laura caught a glimpse of light flashing from Ethan's room. The curiosity gnawed at her, an insatiable itch that she couldn't ignore. She tiptoed down the hallway, careful not to make a sound, and peered into his room. There it was, the phone, resting on his bed, displaying a strange notification that made her heart race. It was an encrypted message, a string of letters and numbers that meant nothing to her, but felt ominous in its secrecy. Laura's mind raced with questions. What was this app? Why was he using it? Why was her son becoming so secretive? Yet, as quickly as the concern surged, so too did a wave of guilt. She knew teenagers valued their privacy, and she had promised herself not to invade Ethan's personal space. But this felt different, this felt urgent. The weight of the notification hung in the air, heavy with implications she couldn't quite grasp. Laura turned away, trying to shake off the feeling of unease, but it clung to her like a shadow. Days passed, and the notification haunted her thoughts. She noticed Ethan's late-night whispers, the way he would smile at his phone screen, his laughter echoing through the house, but never shared with her. It was as if he wore a mask, one crafted by a digital world that she could only glimpse at from the outside. The feeling of helplessness began to consume her. She was losing her son to something she couldn't even see. One afternoon, while Ethan was at school, Laura made a decision. She would confront the mystery head-on. Armed with a mixture of trepidation and determination, she picked up Ethan's phone from the kitchen table where he often left it, a small act that felt like stepping into forbidden territory. With a racing heart, she opened the strange app, her fingers trembling as she navigated through the unfamiliar interface. Each click felt like an intrusion, but she needed answers. What she found was startling. The app was a forum of sorts, filled with posts from other teenagers discussing their struggles with mental health, family issues, and loneliness. It was a tapestry of shared pain and fragile hope, woven together by the threads of anonymity. Laura read through the messages, her heart breaking with each revelation. Ethan had found a community, a place where he could express himself without fear of judgment. But the deeper she delved, the more unsettling things became. Among the supportive exchanges, there was a darker undercurrent. Laura stumbled upon discussions of risky challenges and stunts that members were encouraged to undertake in the name of loyalty. The exhilaration of belonging was laced with danger, and the thought of Ethan participating in such activities sent shivers down her spine. She felt like a detective unearthing clues to a mystery far more complex than she had anticipated. The notification she had seen was a harbinger of challenges, perhaps even a call to arms for the group. As she scrolled, her eyes widened in disbelief. Posts urging members to prove their worth through reckless behavior, coded language masking the true nature of the activities. She could hardly breathe as the realization set in. This wasn't just an online community. It was a breeding ground for harmful behaviors, and her son was caught in its web. The weight of her discovery bore down on her as she fought to quell the rising tide of fear and anger. When Ethan returned home, she could hardly contain herself. The confrontation loomed large in her mind, an unavoidable storm on the horizon. The moment he stepped through the door, a mix of excitement and dread washed over her. She was ready to confront the truth, to unearth the secrets he had buried so deep within himself. But as she looked at him, his familiar features now tinged with shadows of worry, she couldn't help but feel a pang of sorrow. This wasn't just about the app or the group he had become involved with. It was about the distance that had grown between them, the silence that had become their new language. "Ethan, can we talk?" she said, her voice steadier than she felt. He paused, his expression shifting as if he instinctively knew what was coming. The space between them felt charged, electric with unspoken words. He nodded slowly, and as they settled into the living room, Laura felt the weight of the moment. She took a deep breath, preparing herself for the conversation that would unravel everything. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but she knew it was a journey they would need to take together. "Ethan, can we talk?" she said, her voice steadier than she felt. He paused, his expression shifting as if he instinctively knew what was coming. The space between them felt charged, electric with unspoken words. He nodded slowly, and as they settled into the living room, Laura felt the weight of the moment. She took a deep breath, preparing herself for the conversation that would unravel everything. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but she knew it was a journey they would need to take together. "Mom, what's this about?" Ethan asked, his brows furrowing slightly. There was a hint of defensiveness in his tone, as if he were already bracing for her questions. Laura felt a pang of sadness. This wasn't how she wanted their relationship to be. "I saw something on your phone," she began, carefully choosing her words. "A notification from that encrypted app. It really worried me." Ethan's face fell, a mixture of surprise and fear flashing across his features. "Oh, I didn't think you'd notice." He shifted uncomfortably, avoiding her gaze. It's not what you think, Mom." Laura's heart sank at the way he turned away, the very act reinforcing the distance she'd felt between them. "Ethan, I read some of the messages. I saw what's happening in that group. You don't have to hide this from me. I want to understand." He looked up, his eyes filled with a blend of anguish and anger. "Understand what? That I'm just some messed up kid who can't handle life? That I'm looking for a place where I actually feel like I belong?" His words were sharp, but beneath the surface, Laura could sense his vulnerability. "You don't know how much I struggle, Mom. You're always so busy with work, and when you're home, it's like you're just trying to fix me." Laura's heart ached at his words, the truth cutting deeper than any knife. "I never wanted to make you feel like that. I'm sorry if I've been distant. I thought giving you space was what you wanted. I never wanted to suffocate you." She reached out, her fingers brushing against his arm, a small gesture of connection. "But this group isn't safe, Ethan. I'm scared for you." Ethan recoiled slightly at her touch, and Laura's heart sank further. "You don't get it? I finally found people who understand me. They're real. They listen. They don't judge. It's not just some stupid game to me." His voice trembled, betraying the deep emotions swirling inside him. "You don't know what it's like to feel so alone, to feel like no one sees you." The raw honesty in his words hit Laura like a wave crashing against the shore, pulling her under. "I know I can't fully understand what you're going through, Ethan, but I want to. I want to be here for you, to help you through this. But I can't do that if you keep pushing me away." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "You don't have to go through this alone." There was a long silence as Ethan stared at the floor, the weight of their conversation pressing heavily between them. Finally, he sighed, a sound filled with frustration and confusion. "Maybe you're right, but it's hard. I don't know how to just stop talking to them. They're my friends. They get it. Are they really your friends?" Laura asked gently. "Or do they just share the pain? Because I worry that the things they're encouraging you to do only make that pain worse. What if you get hurt? What if something goes wrong?" Ethan looked up, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I don't want to talk about it," he mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. I just want to be normal, Mom. I want to feel like I belong somewhere. Laura felt her heart break a little more with each word he spoke. Normal is overrated, Ethan. It's okay to be different, and it's okay to feel lost. What matters is finding a safe space where you can be yourself. She took a deep breath, hoping to convey the sincerity in her voice. I want to help you find that, but we have to work together. Can we try? Ethan hesitated, caught in the turmoil between his desire for connection and the fear of losing the only semblance of belonging he had found. I guess I could try, he said, his voice cracking. But it's scary. What if I don't fit in anywhere else? Laura reached for him again. This time he didn't pull back. We'll figure it out together. You won't be alone in this. I promise. She felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a fragile yet powerful bond beginning to mend a rift between them. But we need to talk about what you've been involved in. I think we should reach out for help. Therapy, maybe? Ethan's eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and apprehension crossing his face. Therapy? Like talking to a stranger about my feelings? That sounds awful. I know it might feel that way now, but it could be a safe space to explore everything you're feeling. A place where you can talk about what you've been going through without judgment. I'll be there with you. Laura's heart raced at the thought of taking this step, but she knew it was necessary. Maybe, Ethan replied, his voice barely a whisper. But what if I don't want to let go of my online friends? They mean something to me. Laura nodded, understanding the complexity of his emotions. You don't have to let them go entirely, but we need to talk about the risks. We can find a balance, Ethan. I just don't want you to lose yourself in this world where the lines are blurred. You are so much more than the struggles you're facing. Ethan looked at her, the walls he had built beginning to crumble ever so slightly. Okay, he finally said, the word hanging between them like a fragile thread. But can I still talk to them? Just not as much. Laura smiled gently, feeling a surge of relief. Of course. Just let me support you while we figure this out. You don't have to carry this weight alone. As they sat together, a newfound understanding blossoming in the air around them, Laura felt a sliver of hope pierce through the heaviness that had settled in their home. It wouldn't be easy, and there would be moments of struggle, but the journey had begun. If this story is touching your heart, make sure to comment from where you are hearing this amazing story. Ethan's shoulders relaxed just a fraction, and for the first time in what felt like ages, Laura felt as if they were on the same side, united against the forces that had threatened to pull them apart. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Together, they would navigate the turbulence of the world around them, one step at a time. Ethan's shoulders relaxed just a fraction, and for the first time in what felt like ages, Laura felt as if they were on the same side, united against the forces that had threatened to pull them apart. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Together, they would navigate the turbulence of the world around them, one step at a time. In the days that followed, a subtle shift occurred in their household. Laura made a conscious effort to engage Ethan in small, meaningful conversations, creating a routine that felt less like an interrogation and more like a dialogue between allies. They began cooking dinner together, listening to music, and even watching old movies, sharing laughter that had long been absent from their home. Each moment was a thread, weaving them closer together. And with every shared smile, Laura felt the weight of her earlier fears lift just a little. Ethan, too, began to open up in ways he hadn't before. He talked about his day, his friends at school, and the topics that sparked his interest. The topics of mental health and belonging still loomed in the background, but he approached them with a new perspective, one that felt less isolating now that he had his mother by his side. Slowly, he began to share snippets of his online life, cautiously revealing bits of the conversations he had with his friends from the app. He spoke of their struggles and triumphs, the support they provided each other, and the sense of camaraderie that filled the digital space. Sometimes, it feels like I can be my true self there, he admitted one evening as they cleaned up after dinner. I don't have to wear a mask. Laura nodded, understanding the weight of those words. That's important, Ethan. But it's also crucial to find those connections in the real world. You deserve to feel that way with people who are physically present in your life, too. His brow furrowed at her suggestion, but she could see the gears turning in his mind. I guess I could try talking to some kids at school more. I just don't know who would get it. Start small, Laura encouraged. Maybe reach out to someone you've had a class with for a while. You already share a connection there. The thought lingered in Ethan's mind, and as the days turned into weeks, he found himself taking tentative steps towards building relationships outside of the digital realm. He started sitting with a few classmates during lunch, sharing casual conversations that eventually blossomed into deeper discussions. He discovered that some of them had their own struggles, and in sharing their experiences, he began to feel a sense of belonging that he had craved for so long. Laura continued to keep the lines of communication open, and together they sought out a therapist who specialized in working with teenagers. The first session was a mixture of anxiety and hope for both of them. Laura sat by Ethan's side, offering silent support as he began to unravel the tangled web of his feelings in front of someone who was trained to help. The therapist's approach was gentle, allowing Ethan to express himself without pressure. Each session became a safe haven where he learned to articulate his emotions, face his fears, and confront the darker aspects of the online world that had once consumed him. Through therapy, Ethan began to understand the importance of balance. He learned to navigate his feelings of loneliness and anxiety, and gradually, the online group began to feel less like a lifeline and more like a chapter in his journey, one that he could choose to step away from if it no longer served him well. He started to distance himself from the more harmful challenges, sharing his experiences with Laura, who listened without judgment, her presence a constant reminder that he was never truly alone. One evening, as they sat together on the couch, Ethan turned to Laura, a newfound light in his eyes. "I think I want to try out for the school's track team," he said, his voice steady. "I've been running a bit, and it feels good to move. Maybe it'll help me meet more people." A broad smile broke across Laura's face, her heart swelling with pride. "That's amazing. I think you'd be great at it. When do tryouts start?" "Next week," he replied, excitement creeping into his tone. "I'm really nervous, but also kind of excited." "That's normal," Laura assured him, feeling a sense of elation. "I'll be there to cheer you on, no matter what." As the days drew closer to tryouts, Laura marveled at the transformation in her son. He was no longer the boy who lingered in silence behind a screen. He was stepping into the world, embracing new experiences and forging connections. She felt a warmth in her heart, knowing that they had not only begun to heal, but that they were also learning to thrive together. On the day of the tryouts, Laura arrived at the school early, her heart racing with anticipation. She watched as Ethan mingled with other students, his nervousness evident, but overshadowed by a glimmer of determination. As he lined up with the other hopefuls, she felt an overwhelming surge of pride. He was stepping into a new chapter, a testament to resilience forged through their shared journey. When the whistle blew, Ethan took off, his feet pounding against the track, each stride echoing with newfound confidence. As he raced around the curve, Laura cheered, her voice ringing out, a reminder that he was not alone. In that moment, she felt a profound sense of hope, a belief that despite the shadows of the past, their bond had grown stronger, rooted in understanding and love. Ethan crossed the finish line, breathless and exhilarated, a wide smile breaking across his face. He turned to see Laura clapping, her eyes sparkling with pride, and in that instant, he knew they had both overcome something monumental. The journey had not been easy, but it had been worthwhile. They had faced the darkness together, emerging into the light, ready to embrace whatever came next. As they walked home, side by side, Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He glanced over at Laura, who smiled back at him, and for the first time in a long while, he felt a deep sense of belonging, not just to the world around him, but to the family that had fought to understand him. Together, they had begun to build a new foundation, one where love, communication, and resilience would always prevail.